They're kind of getting together on, as you know, on September 12th to show up at the mall in Washington, D.C. Our local area is sending about 200 people by bus there, and there's a lot of folks like myself that will actually be driving down, and that's just from, a small little part of Pennsylvania. So hopefully hopefully we'll have, it looks like there will be tens of thousands, but I really can't comment on how many more than that. But, it's people, going taking time out of their lives to go all the way to the Capitol and kind of camp out for a day and let the government know that, what they're doing just isn't right.
Yeah, and they'll be, camping out all across the United States at different venues as well. I know Gary, I believe, has us set to broadcast live on 9/12 from a 9/12 event that he'll be at. So do tune in for that. But I believe that there are little events going all across the whole United States for people that can't get to the Capitol. But the main goal is to get to the Capitol. It'll be interesting to see how many people show up. The mainstream media has kind of hijacked the teabagging thing and labeled it as, threw some people in it that they wanted to throw in it to discredit the whole movement. But the movement's there and it's real and it's by real people. And when people look out there and they see their mom and their grandparents out there, they can read through the lines and see that what the mainstream media is trying to label there isn't quite exactly accurate. So how's your run going?
It's going okay. We're getting some traction locally. A few weeks ago, I was able to get in an editorial in the local paper about health care. I believe the title was running health care is not the duty of the federal government. So I was able to get that out. It was kind of free publicity, and there's, from a lot of folks that I've talked to, getting more and more confident. It seems that one of the things I'll need to do is sell people a bit more on the whole independent candidate thing, but a lot of people that I talk to, they agree with my views, and a lot of the times, the first question I get is, well, are you Democrat or Republican? And it's kind of an interesting question because, I don't know what party they're from, and, if they're Democrat and I say I'm Republican, it might not matter quite so much to them, but I say, I'm just a private citizen. I'll be on the ballot in November, and all of a sudden, they're kind of interested, and a lot of times what I hear back is, I actually hear a defensive answer back, like, well, I'm only a, Republican, Democrat, same thing. I'm only a Democrat just because I want to vote in the primaries, and I'm like, that is a valid reason. I'm not saying it isn't, but what that basically means to me is these people are losing faith with these party monopolies. And I wrote an article the other day about an idea that I had, which was called The Other Party, where pretty much it was written on a quote by, there's a book that Carol Quigley wrote a long time ago in the 60s, and Congressman Ron Paul, which we both follow, once quoted from it. And the quote goes, something like, the Republican and the two parties that we have, they need to be almost identical so that the American people can just throw the rascals out at the next election without leading to any actual change in policy or government. And that's really kind of what we have, and that's what we've had. People see that in the last 8 years, like the Republicans were in there supposedly fiscally conservative, and, they doubled the size of the House of the Department of Education, spent all this money, and, under a Republican president and a Republican Congress, and then, we got to a point where we had a Democratic Congress and a Republican president, and that was actually, looking back on it, was kind of a good thing because they kind of checked each other out a little bit. And, obviously right now we have a Democratic Congress and Democratic president. We're right on the express train back to the road to serfdom. But it's kind of interesting. And one of the articles on my website, townforcongress.com, TOWNE, I'm not sure if I said that earlier, but it's actually got estimated voter demographics. And this is what I believe not a lot of people actually are aware of this. In the United States, there's about 72 million Democrats, roughly 55 million Republicans, and that's the Democrats are about a third of the voter population. The Republicans are about a quarter. So that means close to 40% are either third party, which is about half that, 20%, or unregistered, which is another 20%. So what we really have going on is, there's a little bit over half of the people in the country, and like I just said, there's so many members of those parties where if they had a different party to go to, if they felt, one of these third parties has a chance of becoming larger or, just leaving in disgust because they don't want to even vote in the primaries anymore, I bet you we'd be well over 60% or so of discontented Americans with the political system. So, the reality is, the Democrats and the Republicans, they're just a small, number-wise in terms of population, they're just a small amount of people in the U.S. And, yeah, there are party loyalists and there are people that will just pull the lever. But, there's not all that many of them. And what America has been presented with for many, many years is the choice between the lesser of two evils and politics as usual, and that's no choice at all. So, and what's kind of interesting is both the Democratic and Republican parties, they won't share their numbers. They'll share them with obviously the top dogs inside the party, but they don't share them publicly. So what I just stated, and it's sourced in the article, is a estimate, and it's probably a pretty realistic estimate. But there's been a lot of talk since then that the Republicans have actually shrunk, and either the Republicans have gone independent or they've gone over to the Democratic side. So I don't really have, it's kind of hard to tell what the current picture is right now, but I would say, the majority of, I believe the approval numbers for Congress are 70% disapproval or something like that. So,
it's pretty rough.
Yeah, they're not doing the job. They need to be removed. And hopefully my campaign will catch fire as time goes on, and more people will seek the answers. And what I do have and what I do bring to the table is answers on a lot of things, like on the financial crisis. I can explain why, they're losing their jobs, and it actually comes down to this government that, pays absolutely no heed whatsoever to having a sound currency, and has really, by its actions, exported our jobs, exported our factories, and has really destroyed the capital. What we're really looking at in terms of this whole financial crisis is the capital destruction in our country over the last 30 years. And by capital, what I mean is machinery and the means of production to make goods. And we've sent it all over the planet, whether to China or Asia or other spots.